All right, I've repaired it. As I mentioned, I am no welder. Yeah, you can see a line there, but I promise you it is full of weld. And also the same on the inside, although you can't see the line there. I hope I've done a good job. I am not a welder. I have hit this and banged it and hoped that maybe what I've done is going to work. We will find out. If it fails again, I will tell my friend, let's go buy a new bracket, because it's not a piece that is under a great deal of strain, but if my welding's not good enough, that I will accept that. I have no problem with that. I'm just trying to save him a buck or two. He's how can I put this politely? He loves this car. His wife hates it. It's as simple as that. So I try and save him as much as I can. Now, okay, you'll see the line there, but I did put a bevel, so the line you're seeing is the line of the weld. Let's hope it's strong enough. If it's not, sorry buddy, but we need to get a new bracket. Okay, so for those that you are following my Corvette 75 work, the steering pump and the brake fluid reservoir. This is obviously the brake fluid reservoir. Fill it full of, well, not full, but you know, 3/4 full of fluid. Remove the plugs that are here. Not these ones, these are the cap-offs. And then pour the fluid in there and wait and watch. You will find bubbles will come out. They don't always come out, what shall we say, succinctly. Oh, there's a big word. And so sometimes you have to take the plug out and screw it back in. Take it out, screw it in. And you will see bubbles rise in the fluid, which is great because that's what you want. So doing that, you will then have bled the reservoir so that there's fluid in the areas where it needs to be. Okay, and I do that by, I mean, it may sound silly, I don't know, but I unscrew this, I screw it back in. All right, let's try, let's see what happens. So I'm going to unscrew this and see if we get any bubbles. Okay, we're getting fluid coming out. So now I put this in here. Hang on. Sorry, I'm doing this left-handed and I'm a right hooker. I like hookers, even though I don't know any. I might have to change hands. That happens a lot. Okay, there. Now you see, as I screw this in, you're getting bubbles coming up. And I'm screwing it, sorry, I'm wiggling it backwards and forwards until I get no more bubbles. That means I have now pushed all the air out of this chamber through to the master cylinder. I don't know, I can't say that's the way it should be done. You pour the fluid in, you wait, when it comes out, whoop-de-doody. But that's what I did. So now we move over here. Right, I'm going to take you for a walk. Here is the old fluid reservoir. I sprayed the two connections with PB Blaster so that they would come out easy. I found that a 14mm was a perfect fit, but to undo these nuts on the booster, they were 9/16. Now, okay, you can fuck around with wrenches, and that's fine for you. They just seem to be the best fit for me. So now my next plan here, is to undo the rest of those bolts and get the master cylinder off. Okay, let's do it. Okay, master cylinder taken off, and as you can see, the what should we say, the paint underneath the master cylinder has been eaten away. Now the rooster booster does not have fluid in it, so that means the cylinder has been leaking. Follow me. Here is the back of the master cylinder, and look at that crap that's there. That is the rubber seals inside disintegrating. It's 1975. Of course it's disintegrated. Could I replace just the seals? Probably. Quickest, cheapest scenario is to replace the cylinder. The only difference I have seen is that this cylinder has a couple of bleed valves there, which is kind of neat, but that's original. So anybody out there interested in this cylinder, I'll clean it up. You can buy the kit and rebuild it yourself if you want originality. The gentleman, friend, buddy that owns this one is not bothered about that. He just said, you know, put a new one in. So that's what we're going to do, because this thing at the moment sucks big time. Don't know what the lob bore is like inside, so you know, you take a chance. But if you want it, send me an email, gstargarage@gmail.com, and we'll come to an agreement. And that's star with 2 R's. Okay, there we go. Let's move on to the next bit. So here we are on the 75 Corvette again, and those of you that are following it will know I discovered my customer had a brake problem. I'm doing what's called a gravity bleed. I like to do these first rather than try and force fluid through, especially as this has a proportioning valve. If you look at the colour of that fluid that's dripping off, it's awful. So I'm going to let this drip through for quite some time. Now there are 2 bleed nipples on this caliper. One here, one, I don't know if you can see it, hang on. And there's one here. I'm just going to do this one for the moment. Then I will do the other one and see how it is. First, I want to try and see if I can get clear fluid through here without going to the aggression of vacuuming and sucking through, because I have my vacuum sucky thing here, which is really good. But I just want to see how this will work. And in the meantime, I will definitely be keeping an eye on the fluid level on the reservoir at the front. And let's go there and have a look. Well, as can be seen, the reservoirs are quite full at the moment. So we're just going to let that continue to drip, and I will keep a close eye on it. Now, I believe I'm correct in saying that this is for the rear and this is for the front. I mean, logically, you would think that's the way it is. So we'll just keep an eye on it and see how it goes for the next few minutes. All right, here is my bleeding bottle. As you can see, there's lots of fluid there. And I've just hooked it over the edge. I've opened the valve, and it will constantly feed all of this in through the brake system, which means I don't need to worry for quite some time while I'm gravity bleeding. Now I will be using a vacuum bleed, which I think I showed you earlier, just to try and speed up the process. But initially, through the caliper, on both bleed nipples on the rear caliper, because there's 2, I'm just going to do gravity bleed and let it go at that, and then give it a good old suck. And I'll do the same on the driver's side rear, then we will move to the front. Okay, this is the driver's side. As you can see from that paper towel, that's pretty shitty. This is the crap that's coming out. Now, the master cylinder had crapped out, although I don't even know if this fluid has been changed in its lifetime. So I'm hoping that the customer will get a great deal of improvement in his brakes. Let's put a new piece of paper in. Okay, we're still getting some coloration there, but it's not as bad as it was. So we're just gonna let that ride for a little while longer. And I do like to gravity bleed. It's so much easier if you can do it. It doesn't always work. Sometimes you just have to suck it. So we'll see. I'm going to let that ride for a little longer. Let's have a look at the fluid reservoir. Oh, still got tons of stuff there. Yep, that's good. All right. All right, here we are on the passenger side front brake caliper. And again, I'm doing gravity bleed. And look, doesn't that look so much better? Obviously, I've managed to get the crap out of the system. So I'm going to snap this one off, go to the other side, do the same thing, and we should be good to go. Right, I have replaced the steering pump, the brake master cylinder. I have bled the steering. I have bled the master cylinder. Everything seems to be okay. Unfortunately, it does mean I have to test drive it. And this is one of the most awkward cars to drive. Not my favourite, I must admit. However, he can now get to his fluid reservoir on the steering, way down there, without having the alternator in the way. And by that I put a shorter belt on. And in all honesty, it may well be the correct belt. The one that was on there was wrong. It was a 155/45. The one I put on there is a 155/35, and that seems to work fine. The one on the power steering pump is just its usual power steering pump belt. Everything seems to be okay there. He's got a radiator leak, as I mentioned, so a new radiator is definitely in the offing. However, I've just put some bars copper seal in there, which is good shit, but it's really only a temporary measure like any of them. Here, the master cylinder is now a lot better, and the brake pedal is nice and firm. Can't really show you any more than that, other than to say, yeah, this is shit you have to do. And don't forget, I also moved this bracket. It was on this side. I moved it to this side to move the alternator a little further forward, so it's now in direct line with the pulley where it should be, and that means it misses the steering pump down there. Hope you enjoy this video. It's not very technical, but hey, any questions you've got on these babies, I will certainly try and help you. I have owned and worked on these for quite some time, but I don't know everything, but I do know quite a bit. What's wrong with this picture? Yes, that wheel is at a very strange angle. Just finished doing the work on the steering for this customer, but it was the steering pump, nothing to do with the front suspension. And that is what has gone wrong here. It would appear that the top wishbone bolt has either stripped its thread or sheared. I'm not sure which. I'll find out when I get this baby apart. And I got to say, that's the second time this has happened on this vehicle. The first time was on the other side. I guess after years and years of use, these things get weak. On the other side, I had to drill and retap it and put a different size bolt in. And I guess I'll have to do the same on this size, if that's what's happened. I'll find out, and we'll take it from there. So let's get this wheel off and see what a mess we've got. And also, oh my God, yeah. That means new bushes as well, and I hate doing the spring on these things. Got to use that special tool, which I have. It's just a pain in the ass. All right, let's get on with it. Okay, as you can see, this upper wishbone is not at the angle it should be at. It's come off at the rear end. Why, I don't know yet. It chopped off the bump stop there. Rather annoying. One of the things I have to do is compress the spring. Unfortunately, the top nut of the spring is underneath this now. It wasn't when it was in the correct position, but it is now. So I'm not sure how the hell I'm going to get to it. That's going to be fun. Yeah. I may be able to get to it from above somehow. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can feel it. I can just feel the nuts, so I might be okay. It's not going to be easy though. So first thing to do is to take the bottom ones out. Hang on. Yeah, take these bottom ones out. Obviously they come out from underneath, under there. Then take the top ones out, then get the spring compressor in here. Compress this damn spring. Then split the upper ball joint and get that out of the way. Yeah, doesn't look like anything else is damaged. Well, the end is still there, so I can only assume that somehow that thread stripped or the bush collapsed. And I really don't know. Hang on a second. Yeah, can't tell. I'm going to guess and say that that thread stripped, or the bolt stripped. Of course, the bolt is nowhere to be found. So what I'm going to have to do is check the thread in there, see if the thread's good, and if so, as the bolt is now missing, I will assume, maybe rightly or wrongly, I don't know, that the bolt thread stripped. So I'll have to find a bolt to fit that, a large washer, and I'll Loctite the bugger in. And I'm going to take that one out as well, and make sure that that is all okay as well at the same time. Wish me luck. And as you can see, it's a bit of an angle at the moment. It shouldn't be like that. Okay, I have the spring compressor tool in there, and I just want to say a lot of people use this tool the wrong way. They'll have this fork underneath here, underneath the pan. And yeah, it'll work, but that's not how the tool was intentioned. Firstly, you get the, hang on, the top piece there with the hooks on it, as high as you can get it. Now they're at different lengths, so you know one side will be on the higher point, and then the other one will be on the lower point of the spring. Then you slide these fork in at the lowest possible point. And the lowest possible point for me this time around, because of the collapse, I think, is there where you can see. And then you tighten up the nut. Obviously, make sure you've got it seated correctly. And by that, I mean, you see that I've got the little notch there resting up against the spring. That just gives it less chance because, you know, it's a bitch, less chance of it actually flying off. And then all you do, all you do is tighten up that nut until the spring has got all its tension off, and then you do what you're going to do, remove control arms, etc. In this particular case, all I'm hoping to do is remove the top control arm, leave the spring compressed, as I said, take off this ball joint, and see if I can figure out WTF went wrong. Don't like the look of that. I'm hoping that's going to pull the spring down because that's bloody close to the top there, because everything is all twisted at the moment. And I think we're going to have to get a new control arm, the top control arm. I think it's twisted so badly that I'm not going to be able to hammer it back into the correct position. And I've got to be careful here because that is right on the brake line. You see? And again, there's not much I can do about that. I think I'll try putting a socket in here or something. And then maybe that will save it, who knows, but there's a lot of pressure there on that. All right, let's get on with it. All right, separated the ball joint now, and to avoid making the customer pay for another ball joint, I use this type of separator. You can rent those. I happen to own one. I can't really tell you what the number is. It looks like 033, I'm not sure, but anyway, that's the type of ball joint splitter you want. And I left the nut on, of course, because I didn't want this thing flying. Now, everything here now, in my mind, should be okay, but let's check. Okay, so we've got the steering still attached. The top ball joint is separate. The tie rod, sorry, not tie rod, the sway bar link is in position. So the only concern I do have is that when I pull this ball joint out, the disc and that will want to fall in this direction, and I am supporting it at the moment. So yeah, I guess I could try and move that in a bit. Well, let's see how it goes. I'm sure I can hold it. Well, in case it went terribly wrong, I didn't want to show that. I'm still supporting it underneath here. And now this is, hang on, loose. And we lower the car down, and I'll get to the other side of it. We'll take this baby out and find out how bad the twisting is. We'll be back. Don't go away. Okay, as with all crappy car manufacturers' design, you can see that this is going to be a tight fit getting that off of there. Even when if I can get the nut off, which is pretty doubtful, I still think I'm going to have to move this shroud, or maybe just gently pry things in order to get that off of there. Not quite sure how that's going to work out yet. Obviously, I did manage to get the shock absorber out, so I could get the spring compressor in. That's a given. Looks like the bush is completely gone on that one, and it didn't do any favours on that one either. So definitely going to have to replace them. And do note your shims, by the way, here. Okay, make sure you put the correct shims back in the correct place. I'm going to tuck this out of the way. This shield is kind of cattle trucked. Yes, and that's rhyming slang, English rhyming slang. It means fucked. Cattle trucked, fucked. Okay, Bristol City's titties. Now, it may be that didn't... Ooh, I was going to say it didn't suffer too bad. I'm not sure. Do you know what? It might have survived. Which would be brilliant if it has, because then we don't need to buy a new cross member. Just got to buy new control arm bushes. Alright, there's no point in me showing you this. I'm going to undo this nut, and then I'm going to take that control arm off. However, I may struggle to get it past here. I don't know. I'll just tell you whether I did or not. Meanwhile, I've got to speak to my local parts store and see if they have the upper control arm bushes, because that would be absolutely brilliant. Because then all we've got to do is do the bushes, find a nut, bolt, make sure the shaft isn't damaged, make sure the thread isn't damaged inside of here, clean it all up, and put it back in and Loctite that baby together. Okay, let's get on with it. Alright, taking one of the nuts off. just wanted to stop for a second and say these nuts are 11/16. And to show you how anal I am, or stupid, rear and front of that upper cross member. Okay? Cross member? Control arm, dumb shit. So I can't make a mistake. I forget shit easy. Got the control arm out. A little bit of a battle. Had to loosen up all the radiator shields and jiggle and piggle them, and then use a little persuader there to pry it off because it was in such a mess. It looks as if it's survivable. I'm just going to pull this back out a little bit. This one doesn't seem to have twisted. It means it seems to have popped out, but this one's kind of got a bit twisted, so a little persuasion in that direction should get that back in alignment, rather than having to buy a whole new one, which would be a nightmare. And let's face it, with the rubber bushes, they're not super duper accurate. As you can see on this one, the bush has pushed its way out, so there's no two ways about it. I've got to get 2 new bushes, figure out what the hell went on here. I think the bolt must have stripped. The thing is, it's a fine thread on these. And looking at that, I'm not sure. That might be the sleeve. Oh shit, it is. Look at that. There you go. All right. So, let's have a close inspection in there. Where's my light? I've seen the light. Not a fucking chance. Thread doesn't look terrible. I think what I'm going to do is find a correct size bolt. I'm going to wash this out with brake cleaner. And then when I assemble it all, I don't like doing this, but I'm going to probably use red Loctite. I would normally use blue, but I want to make sure this puppy stays in place. So I'm probably going to use red Loctite on both ends. Yeah, this one too. All right, let's go get some new bushes, press the bushes in, put it all back together. That's probably pretty much the end of the video. There's not much else I can show you. Yeah, I'm going to, straighten this piece out here. Yeah, as I said, clean that out. Got to find me a washer that looks something like that, because that's gone walkabout. A nice bolt and a spring washer, and our good old favourite Loctite. Gosh, why did you do this to me? Oh, of course, I've got the fun of getting these other bushes out, or what's left of the bushes anyway. And that's going to be a bit of jiggly-piggly and hammering, etc. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be fun. All right, really, that is all. I'm going to put this on the end of my other video. I said there was another video to follow. I'm going to change that. Not that you care. You won't notice.